Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Sebring International Raceway. We're bringing you the action from the Majors series, and we're broadcasting up in the booth. Myself, Gareth McAllister, and my good friend Mike Taylor is with me producing the show. Tonight, we're going to have some really nice action of 2 hours here, filling up some beautiful track that is at Sebring, located right in the heart, well, not really in the heart, just near Sebring, Florida, in the great US of A. Track, believe it or not, was opened in 1950. That's a good old 76 years ago, and she is really showing her age in some corners. It cannot be denied. Lots of bumps, lots of tricky sections, and we're going to be getting it ready to go. We've got two classes of drivers here. We've got Pro and Sports Silver, and they're going to be giving it their all, as they're also in two different classes of cars. We're going old school. We've got the old Honda HPD ARX, which you can see in your picture right now. And right in front of that driver at the moment, we are showing the Corvette C6R, which is one of our GT1s. Just in the background there, you can see just for a brief moment, that was the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1 as well, with a very interesting livery on that one. I do like the look of that. Call me maybe a little bit too artistic in the sense that I like it, but I guess to each their own, and that one looks pretty good to me. As we're looking at Thomas right now as he prepares to go through, well, towards the back end of the circuit, I should say. I wish I knew my track knowledge a little bit more. Apologies for that one. But yeah, Sebring pretty famous for hosting quite a number of events, including the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, GT World Challenge America, the Trans Am Series, and the Ferrari Challenge North America are going here right now. I also know they run some like Spec Racer Ford series, which is just a little bit of an opener into some of these as well, which always produces some great racing before the actual event takes place. Now we're watching on board with Batten here at the moment. This is in the HPD as he's getting ready to put in probably his final lap of practice. You can see we've only got about a minute or so to go before we get to the end of this practice session and jump straight into qualifying. Now, this is Garrett Batten, well, I was going to say my next door neighbor. I'm not quite sure if that's true or not, but I guess he's next door neighbor with the tire barrier at the moment as he finds himself going a little bit off track there, but that's all right. And the reason I said that was because he is a good old Aussie as well, so rocking it really early in the morning for him. Anywhere between, well, I guess, what's the time now? About 4 a.m., or it could be even earlier, depending on which place in the country he is, of course. Um, but yeah, we're looking at Sebastian Jackson right now. He's currently leading the pace in the HPD, setting a pretty nice lap time there of a 1:49.557. Now, these HPDs, they used to be, I believe, the LMP2 effectively class series back in the day, in the early 2000s. Nice when they had the old cockpit taken away and just an open air. I don't know, something is very nostalgic about that for me, and I hope you're going to enjoy that as well. Now, pit, we have a very slow, well, I'd probably say pretty slow pit lane here as well. Only 45 miles an hour or 72 kilometers an hour. So I guess that's actually not that slow when I think about it, considering I'm so used to the speed limits around my area, which is just abysmal. Um, but yeah, we're getting ready to go, and you can see we're just making the transition to qualifying. So we'll get the cars lined up to go back on track, but it's nice and scenic out here at Sebring, and I am looking forward to some great action. I hope you are too. As I just remembered that we don't have qualifying, as Mike Taylor's letting me know because qualifying was already pre-done. So actually on pole at the moment, we're going to have Garen Batten starting up front with Michael Helledufsen starting in the second position. Davis Braun in the third spot with David H. Baker in the fourth position. Scott Warner in the fifth spot. Joseph M. Homan in the 6th position with Sebastian Jackson in 7th. Edward Shelley in the 8th spot with Tom Guest. Meow. Yes, I had to say that on stream because I love that. In the 9th position, hopefully he's going to be epitomizing that as we go forward through the race. Oscar Moten in the 10th position, rounding out your top 10, with Wayne Hutchinson just on the back door of that top 10 in the 11th spot. Bill Daly in the 12th position as we roll it on down through the field a little bit more. Sorry for the voice break. Joshua Hampton in the 13th position. Michael Hogg in the 14th spot. Peter Armstrong following behind him with Tom Drilling in the 16th position. Jeremy Morrison in 17th, and rounding out your Honda. Oh, I got to keep on getting this one right. The Honda HPD ARX, I think it's 01C, I believe, is the exact model number. With Roberto D is going to be rounding out the 18-car grid for that one. On pole in our GT1s, though, Austin O'Neill rocking that number 5 for America, with Daniel Thomas, the Welshie, in 20th position. Damien, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that one. Horvatin, I think I'm saying that correctly. Apologies in advance. And, well, actually, now I've said that, not quite in advance, with Jeff Schmeier in the 22nd position, but of course, 4th in class. Jonas Gunnarson starting just behind him with Jacob Money. That's a name that rings a bell. I think I used to race against him, of course, a lot faster than I was, as is per the case, which is why I'm up here in the booth at the moment, and he is out on track. Claude Belval in the 25th position overall with Mike Golightly. Well, hopefully he's not going to be going too lightly in the field today and going to be making up some positions, as Pierre Posey starts first behind him with Hakan Schott in the 28th position. Gary Thomas in 29th overall. Ray Partridge in the 30th position. Hopefully he's got a pear tree coming up sometime shortly, with Kyle Graham in 31st. And we're showing Brian Scrivener in the 32nd position, which is going to be your last car on grid. He is in the Honda HPD, so I'm not sure if he has a particular pit lane start or what the go is with that one. Potentially a timing error as well, but I'm sure we'll figure that out as we're about to get ready to go into the basically the heaviest braking zone on circuit right now. You'll be able to see in just a second. It's a really, really tight hairpin down here, and the drivers are going to have to be really on their toes. No ABS, and I don't believe any traction control either on any of these machines, excuse me. So it's going to be a challenge for all these drivers. 2 hours of racing, a lot of multi-class action. I am getting ready to sit back and relax as much as I can do, while obviously keeping an eye on the action. And I'm sure Mike's going to point us in the right direction as well, as we're going to watch these machines do some beautiful racing, I'm sure, out here on the bumpy surface that is half, I want to say half dedicated racetrack and half concrete. Very strange sort of mix here with the airport thrown in there as well. But they're following the Porsche safety car around at the moment, and we'll see how they do as they enter. I believe it's called the Le Mans Chicane. It's actually not going to be right here, but it's going to be a little bit later. And I'm trying to get my own bearings up here in the booth, as you could probably tell. But we've got 3.74 miles of racing action per lap, which translates to 6.01 kilometers, just barely over 6Ks per lap racing distance. So, and if they're lapping at about just under, what do we see in qualifying? About an hour, and not an hour, that's ridiculous. About a minute and 50 odd seconds per lap for these HPDs. That's a lot of laps in 2 hours. I can't be doing the basic maths on that because I failed maths when I was at school. So don't try and get me to do numbers for you, because it's not going to go well. But thanks for joining us, as I was going to say, and we're getting ready to go. As the drivers make their way down to Sunset Corner. Definitely, though, that one very famous for being absolutely blinding in the right, or should I say wrong, conditions. when the sun is just setting, hence the name, as they're getting ready to go around that final bend. And we're waiting on the green to be thrown. I'm sure it's going to be. There's Barney, the flag man, getting ready to wave the flag, and there he goes. Off they go. Darren Batten with a beautiful start up front. Michael Halldufsen is in second position, I believe, at the moment, as they roar their way down through the first corner. There's a little bit of running wide, maybe, from Davis Braun in third position. Manages to hold it together, though, for the moment. And the two leaders, it looks like, are just storming away just barely from the rest of the pack. They might have got a really nice jump at the start there. The other cars coming through, and there's the start of our GT1 grid, led by the Aston Martins, O'Neill and Thomas. And I believe Horvath is there as well in the Aston Martin as well. So the Astons are really showing those V12 grunts just in front of the V8s, the Corvettes. Which, by the way, I believe the Corvette, in my opinion at least, is probably the best sounding car on the iRacing service, even to this day, from when it got introduced way back when. Because that thump of a V8, it cannot be denied, as we're on board with Gunnison at the moment. And he's moved himself up into the fourth position, representing Sweden very, very nicely, as there's a lot of battle going on behind him, but there's a bit of a gap between those top three and himself. So he's hopefully going to be able to catch the group in front. It looks like he is doing just ever so slightly around some of those bends, so he's going to be leading your Corvettes for the moment. Nice bright paint job, quite like that one, not just opting for the safe, simple yellow. And putting a lot of colour and artistic flair in that one. I quite like that. Nice show of the Swedish flag colours there as well. So obviously representing very, very well. And actually, as I've been talking about, a bit of the commentator's curse, I reckon, coming in, as he's been losing the three in front just slightly as well. And we might have had a problem for Morrison, as he's gone way down the order. A little puff of smoke back there as well, as we get the replay queued up. Thank you, Mike. Beautiful timing for that one, as he was in third position when this happened, and there he goes around, and he's just barely clipped the tire barrier. I'm not sure if he's got too much damage. I'm not sure how the physics is quite working with these cars at present day, but it looks like there's not too much on the rear left hand side of that machine, so he might have got away with that one. And excuse me, he wasn't running third, but he was running a lot better than he is right now, that's for sure. But he's going to be making his way back up through the pack, I'm sure, with the pace that he's been running so far. As we move back to the battle for the lead, Batten is holding off Halldufsen and doing a great job. Halldufsen knows exactly where he wants to put the car. I called a race for the TCRs about a month ago, and he was well and truly the fastest one on circuit. And you know, the thing about the major series is we really try and make sure that the drivers who are in front are not too comfortable. We're trying to push them into all different varieties of race car to try and see the overall skill, just how good you can be in multiple disciplines of racing, in multiple different race machines with different levels of technology and assist. And Halldufsen is proving he's still got it, no matter whether you put him in a front engine TCR with traction control and ABS and all the other helpful shenanigans, or something as loose and downforce heavy as a I believe a mid-engine machine as the Honda HBD. And there's a little bit of a battle going on there with Moten just on the back end of Jackson. Looks like he's going to go for the move. Bit of a dive down the inside, not going to be able to make it stick into turn two. And I'll give you a reminder as well, if you'd like to shout out a driver or let us know, feel free to chuck it in the comments, and we'll get some, we'll pull them up on screen for you and see if we can pull up some stat sheets as well. Maybe give you a bit of a talking to of how they're going at the race at the moment. And don't feel afraid to show some love to your favorite drivers, and potentially your favorite commentator and or producer in this one as well. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you never know. You could have some fans out there watching on, so we really appreciate it no matter what you're looking to say or what the feeling is. But yeah, as we're watching this great battle right now for the 6th position, I mean, Baker, Jackson, Merton, and even Guest is just about to get involved. He's not too far behind these three either. So they're really getting racy very, very quickly. And you can see there the positions gained as well in the battle for the 5th position. Well, it says battle for 5th. 5th is a little ways down the road, Shelley. But 6th position right now is definitely under fire. And you can see Baker's lost a couple of positions, but Moten is on the way forward as he's rocked up another 2. And there's a position change right there. Jackson Baker. Jackson Baker almost sounds like a first name. Nevertheless, the 2 of them, but there he goes. They're still side by side, Jackson and Baker, swapping positions. Could not believe how quickly they're swapping positions as they cruise over the line. And there goes Moten. He's going to try something around the outside as well. He's going to take advantage of the 2 cars battling. It does. He manages to get it done. Guest trying to get involved now as well. Unfortunately, not quite able to do that with him, or very fortunately, I should say, for Baker, as he's able to withhold at least 1 position out of the 3 that were sitting right on his tail. And this is fantastic racing from the top class right now. And it looks like Morrison might have jumped to the pits. I'm not sure what's happened there. He's on pit exit now. Maybe he had just had a bit of a slowdown, bit of a jump start. Not quite sure what's happened there. Potentially serving a penalty from a previous race or something like that. But he's gone down pit road as we're keeping a close eye on this battle. Looks like Shelley's catching up to Homan for the 4th position as well. And this top class is certainly giving us a lot of action. These HPD machines, it kind of makes you wonder why they got rid of this class. Well, I mean, apart from obviously a lot of regulations, I can guarantee another reason would be because of the driver's safety. Obviously, the open-air cockpit, not entirely the safest way to have your endurance race, but definitely an iconic look to these machines. That cannot be understated, as Homan has actually increased that gap. Or sorry, Shelley's increased that gap to Homan there. Reading that the wrong way around. But it looks like Homan's got a bit of a performance, I want to say performance increase. Oh my damn, the commentator's curse almost caught him off guard there. Homan really had an issue coming into that one. Lost the rear end mid-corner, had to gather it up. Great job keeping the car pointed the right direction, not spinning it around fully. And also maintaining the gap to Jackson behind. So really phenomenal racing from, very interestingly coloured right there. What is that, purple and like a faded teal green? That's, I think that's a teal. It's like a bluey greeny kind of a mix. It's a fascinating colour choice. It's not, you don't see cars with that much flair anymore these days. Trying to take a bit of a livery to the next level, and that's certainly one that has pushing it. May have got a slowdown there, just cutting that corner just a little bit too much. But I'm sure we'll see that. And we're going to go back to the battle for GT1 because it looks like there's a close one there. Thomas and Horvaton, sorry. Very close indeed. These 2 Astons seeming pretty evenly matched, as O'Neill is very happy to see this from his rear view because he's thinking, yes, please, you guys battle together and I'm just going to run away with it while you do that. And it looks like he is doing. So he's going to be very happy about that. What's happened with Tom Guest? And he is parked on the... Oh my... That's almost parked on the apex. I think he's high-ended it. He has. He's stuck. That is unbelievable. He cannot get going. Oh, Guest is going to have to tow that one. That is brutal. Tom Guest, the most unfortunate and tiny bit of contact. Unable to get it done. And unfortunately stuck between a rock and a hard place with the cars coming in. Gets it turned around. Just had to put the brakes on, so he wasn't going to hit anyone. And it was just the most unfortunate timing you could potentially even imagine for that machine. And Tom Guest is just... Oh, you got to feel sorry for that one. It's never fun when that happens, let alone within the first 10 minutes of a 2-hour race. That is absolutely brutal. We hope he continues on and keeps fighting. You never know what's going to happen. 2 hours is a long way to go. But that is a devastating start to this one. As Horverton has passed Thomas. And he's going to be trying to extend that gap. As it looks like he is doing a bit. He seems to be slightly better around the middle of the corner is what I'm seeing right there. And yeah, his times were just about almost just a bit over half a second faster than Thomas was that time by. So he's looking at Neil trundling away ahead and deciding he doesn't want O'Neill to get that much of a gap and be all that comfortable out front. As these drivers really pushing the outer limits of the track, that is for sure. Alderman still able to keep the distance between himself and Thomas. It looks like Shot, Graham and Partridge were pretty close together in the 28th, 29th and 30th spot for a minute there as Belleville's passed Posey. Not sure what's happened there, or maybe it's just Morrison dropping down the grid. Yeah, it looks like it might have been another potential spin for Morrison, or maybe he's on the recovery drive from what we saw earlier. As we try to queue up a replay, potentially not quite. Gonna see, oh, there it is, and watch out. Well, that's what happened to Morrison, as well as he was very quick on the brakes. Fantastic stuff not to really anchor down and cause the car to have a major issue when it comes to sliding in. When you dab on these brakes too hard without ABS, you can just go straight in, and this is from the onboard. You can see all of a sudden there's an Aston Martin. That is not what you want to see in front of you, but managed to avoid any kind of incident. He's pictured sideways as well. That's I'm not sure if that's deliberate or not, but if it is, that is fantastic. As Morrison, in the profile picture, really depicting what he saw in front of him just then. So Horverton and, well, really the sister car, if you look at the liveries that were on board both of those machines that was spun around there before. But Horverton's still under pressure from Thomas, but has been increasing that gap and closing down to O'Neill as well, as Morrison's going to be coming by here soon. Not too long a time. However, these GT1s, they are fascinatingly quick. You forget just how quick these machines are, especially in a straight line. Of course, nowhere near the downforce that the Hondas have up here in the top class, but in terms of outright speed, there's not a massive amount of difference. Not quite like the difference we see between the top GT class and the top prototype classes that we see today. Although the HPD, like I said earlier in the broadcast, was, I believe, the LMP2 back in the day, so maybe there's a bit more to be said about that. But yeah, Horverton is keeping this at bay, and it looks like Warner's catching up to Hogg in the top class right now, fighting for 13th and 14th position. And we're jumping on board with that battle because that was pretty close as the two drivers are looking together. And both in white machines, one of them spotting pink, one of them spotting light blue. Are we representing gender reveals, I believe, with those different colored choices? But it's beautiful as the Warner goes for a move right there on Hogg. And he's going to make that one stick. Beautiful pass. Hogg gives him the room, it must be said. Very polite driving. He knows that there is another almost 2 hours still to go in this race. There is no reason to make any kind of crazy move at this point. Not to defend too hard. You just want to survive for right now. And Warner very happy to see that pass be made without too much problem. As it looks like the HPD field has spread out quite considerably. The drivers trying to find their own pace and exactly where they want to be. There looks like there's quite a close battle. Mike, if you want to just look over the 28th, 29th, and 30th position for us. As we're going to jump towards there, I'm sure. Go Lightly, Graham, Partridge, and Thomas. They're all close together. There was a car, I believe that Corvette was getting out of the way of Partridge there. I'm not quite sure why. May have been a lap down, as I believe that was going to be... That was... Yeah, no, I'm not quite sure. That was Partridge, I believe. So yeah, he was giving way right there to Thomas, making it very easy. Not battling too hard here, which again, is probably the safe option at this point. But Graham, Go Lightly, Thomas, even Partridge, I mean, he's let him go, but he's still there. These drivers all very close together. So is Shot just in front. They're all very close at the rear end of this GT1 field. And a nice mix of battles between them, as well as it looks like Money. He's going to make a move slightly further up the field in the 22nd position. He's really, really close on the back bumper of... That's actually Morrison there, so apologies for that one. I got really excited for very little reason, as they are different classes entirely. But just looking at the timing board, it looked like it was going to be very close. But we're going to keep an eye on Graham, Go Lightly, Thomas, Partridge, Shot as well. Mike's just apologising in my ear, but he doesn't need to, because this is exactly where we want to be. As this racing is very, very close right now, and the top class is definitely spread out right now. So unless you really want to see hot lapping, which, you know, to each their own, I mean, that is also an option. Of course, I don't believe it will stay that way for very long as these drivers settle in for the long haul drive here. We're riding on the back bumper of Graham, looking back to Go Lightly. And that's always a phenomenal camera angle, these ones. Oh, we're actually on the back of Graham, sorry. We're looking at Go Lightly. Unless I already said that, which I think I may have. So I'm just correcting myself for being correct, which is an interesting way to look at it. But I've also just been informed that I don't believe I've let everyone know yet, so I'll let you know now. This is the European region of the Majors Series. We do have 3 regions running. We've got the International, the European, and the American regions, all in separate different regions to separate the areas of which you can be the best in your fields, as it looks like the leaders are just coming up. And there, I believe that is Batten, and he's going to be making his way through the rear end of the GT1 field for the first time. It's almost taken him 18 minutes, almost just around 10 laps, and he's going to be scything his way through. And you can see the height difference really more than anything. I mean, you're just staring at the arse end of these cars for the longest time without knowing exactly where the apex of the corner can be if you're too close behind the bumper of them. The Corvette's lights go on there, and it looks like Batten's going to make short work of that one as he rolls around the outside. The extra downforce helping him, gets cut off a little bit there from the GT1 in front, but able to keep it together. I believe that was Shot there in that GT1 Corvette. Coming up to the back of the Aston now. If I'm not mistaken, that is Plousy. And that is the case. Beautiful. I'm right on track for for once, as we laugh at ourselves here in the commentary booth. But making his way, scything through the field, and doing a great job as well. Not making too many problems for any of the drivers. And it looks like Warner's caught right up to the back of Hampton. Further back in the HBD field, fighting for 12th and 13th position. So Warner's been on a tear ever since he passed Hogg just a few laps ago. And he has been making his way solidly through the field. Closing that gap. Draft going to be helping out quite a bit right now as they make their way into that heavy, heavy braking zone. You really have to trust the cones on that left side there to tell you where the braking zone exactly is. Running a little bit wide was Hampton. Will Warner take advantage? It looks like he's got the run, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Heading into the next section, no, it's not. Takes a look just to try and get in the mind of Hampton there, just to try and see how badly Hampton wants to hold on to this position right now. And he's really trying to see if he can outwit his opponent, as Hampton is still under so much pressure from Warner just behind. They are really, really close right now. Warner goes to the inside, which of course starts at the outside line, decides not to go for it. And I believe this is the Le Mans chicane, aptly named because it looks very similar, well, a miniature version, I guess, of the Porsche curves that are at Le Mans. Or Circuit de la Sarthe if you want to be really technical and make the name of the track. As Warner still on the back bumper of Hampton, but they're getting really close. Shelley and Braun also really close together for third and fourth position. So we're jumping to that battle as well. And yeah, these battles are tightening up a little bit more. And a part of the reason for that is catching up to that GT1 field, as we get a really nice panning camera there. That was actually quite nice. I wonder if that was the new drone camera that I haven't seen too much of, but I've heard a lot about. Seems fascinating to me. As I'm often, I don't know what are the consensus in the group chat, or in the race chat, I should say, of this one, but typically when I see a drone cam, personally not a massive fan, because I believe that it makes the cars look like they're going a little bit slower. But some people love it for the immersion and different camera angles. I mean, you look at that right there, and I'm not sure if that was drone cam or not. It looked quite droney to me, but yeah, nice little swivel pirouette from the cam. So, you know, to each their own. And yeah, I can understand that as they catch up to lap traffic. So they're going to have to be really careful here as they go to the inside. Shelley's going to be right on the back bumper of Braun now. Braun's not going to be too happy about that one, but that is the nature of multi-class. You're going to have to put up with it. Shelley goes to the inside move. Will it stick into Sunset? Very, very bouncy corner on the inside line. Shelley's going to be bouncing. You can see that car actually didn't bounce much at all. Must have found the perfect way through. Puts his tires in the right spot. Able to get it done. Braun's going to be right behind, though, catching up to more lap traffic. And Aston just in front. He's going to be taking his own racing line, so he's going to be on the inside. Not too much of a factor, though. Shelley is able to navigate it without too much of an issue. And Braun decides to stay behind for the moment. Not too far behind them. Jackson and Moten are also catching up to each other as well. I mean, that is the nature of multi-class. You catch up to the slower class as the faster class. And it can work in reverse as well when the cars are passing you. That these battles can sometimes, you know, they grow exponentially or they close right back up, and you never know how this is going to go. It just depends on where you are on circuit, how you catch traffic, and whether that traffic likes to play nice. It can be a fascinating little game of tug of war between where do you want to position your car, and you've got to be mindful of where everyone else is positioning theirs as well. Now we're still watching this battle. It looks like Shelley's opened the gap up to 7/10 of a second. Just about to open up to 8/10 of a second here. But heading into Le Mans chicane, like I said, this will really close it down because he's got the Corvette just in front. He's going to want to pass, and does so. The Corvette's going to take the inside line as well. So he's going to cut off Braun from potentially going through as well, because there was a bit of a gap between them. And Braun unable to make any real inroads. About a 10th, but nothing that will concern Shelley right now. It's a great pass to get into the second position. Meanwhile, Warner's still back on the back of Hampton, and I believe there's something going on with Jackson and Moten behind. I think that's Jackson phasing in and out, having potential connection issues. And yes, it looks like I am right with that one. So we're just losing him. The broadcast tower had a little bit of a fit. It's okay. You're not seeing anything untoward. It's just connection issues, which of course is not great for anyone out on track, including Jackson as well. Unfortunately, I'm sure the drivers will potentially be coming on the radio and telling him, hey, you do have connection issues. Of course, there's nothing Jackson can particularly do about that, apart from resetting the router, which we all know will just drop him from the session anyway. So that's not exactly the ideal situation. So it's just a case of the other drivers are going to be having to give him a little bit more room. Jackson, the same, is going to have to give a little more room to the cars around him, as the iRacing service is going to have to depict where they think the car is, but they're not entirely sure. And this is when netcode comes into it. And I'm sure you've all heard the conversation of, oh, I didn't actually hit him on my screen, and he hit me on his screen, but he kept going without damage. That's all netcode. We're all in different countries. We're all connecting to a different server. And unfortunately, these things just happen sometimes, and no one likes to see it. But if you could make it a flawless system, I just don't think that's ever going to be really possible. I mean, with the amount of distance that you're dealing with. I mean, Batten, for example, is Australian. Like, you're dealing with literally halfway across the world, if not pretty much the other side of the world. So, I mean, it's just the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes your connection is strong, sometimes your connection is bad. But we're not going to harp on about it too long because I already have, let's be honest. And so we're watching Armstrong right now as he makes his way along lap traffic in the Good Smile Racing livery. Don't ask me how I know that without getting a good look on it. Bit of an anime weeb myself. Can't lie about that one. I'm outing myself on YouTube. Probably shouldn't have done that, but there we go. As Armstrong still catching up to Hutchinson here. And Hutchinson's going to be caught behind lap traffic in this section. Very much a one-car wide section here. It's very hard to go too wide. And Armstrong's really closed that gap because of that. And he's going to be potentially making the move coming into the hairpin here. But look at the GT1. This is what I was saying earlier. They've got quite a lot of straight line pace as well. It's very hard for these HPDs to get through them just on outright pace. But what it has done is brought Hutchinson right back into the clutches of Armstrong. Armstrong trying to see. No, he's decided to back off just a little bit. Deciding caution is the better option behind Hutchinson here. We're just about, I think we're about 3 minutes. Yeah, you can see in the top left there, 3 minutes away from a quarter of this race done. And it feels like we haven't had that much time without action. I mean, even when the HBDs got a little bit sorted out, the field spread out just a little bit, then the GT1s were having battles, then the GT1s spread out, and then the HBDs were having battles. I mean, you've got multi-class interaction. You've got pretty much everything you could want. So we're going to keep an eye on it. But yeah, Armstrong, this is the closest battle in this top class. And it looks like there's going to be a Corvette in front, but I don't think that's going to play really a factor at all. And I believe that is Jonas Gunnarsson just in front there. He's going to be letting these two by. Armstrong gets caught up a little bit, though, and that's going to cost him a lot of time right there. Right on the apex, the Corvette sits, and where the Corvette sits, it fits. And it fits right there in between the two HPDs. So that's going to cost Armstrong the time that he gained up. And Homan's had an incident. Homan has had an incident. We're not quite sure. Thankfully, almost did that sort of high side that we saw earlier from another machine. And yep, he's just lost it. Coming in a little bit too hot there. And just couldn't get the car stopped in time. And then he's had another spin as his tires were still so warm from getting that one back onto the track so quickly. Those tires did not have a chance to breathe as he went back into the next corner straight after. And sure enough, unfortunately had a bit of a spin, so he's lost several positions out of that one. And he'll be eager to make those back up. But Warner just behind is going to be licking his chops. Happy to see that car make its way back towards him. And he's going to be very, very happy about that one because he has been making his way up through the field slowly but surely, really putting the pressure on the cars in front every time we've seen it. So it's gonna potentially get spicy if he can find his way to get a little bit closer. And we've got another problem. Pierre Poissy is on the side of the track. I believe that's just into turn one, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, that's just on the outside of turn one. He's lost it there. Not quite sure what's happened. Under braking and just plowed straight on. So hopefully not a technical issue. Hopefully nothing to get sorted out. Not only technical, but also in the real world. Let's not mistake that these drivers, yes, it is a simulator. Yes, it's very close to the real thing, and we love it for that. We love treating it as real. Um, Unfortunately, real life does get in the way, and potentially he may have had an issue with whether it be a hardware failure or something else happening in the real world. So hopefully nothing too untoward, and he can come back out on track later on in this one, because it looked like he towed to the pits as well, as we've jumped back up the field to Braun, who's actually made inroads slightly to Shelley after Shelley made that pass several laps ago and started to run away with it. It looks like Braun's closed up ever so slightly. And Homan and Daly. So Daly, I wonder if Daly had a little bit of an incident as well, potentially, because Daly was a little bit ahead of Homan and Warner, if I'm not mistaken. And all of a sudden, Homan's passed after Homan had that spin earlier on. So I wonder if Daly had their own small incident, as we're passing back to Hakan's shot. And, whoa, speaking of incident, I mean, you can't get much more incident than that. What has happened there? The two Corvettes got together on the run into the hairpin. And we were talking about how dangerous that hairpin was, and there's an example of it. As Graham's taken the outside road, the service road, to get back onto track, and Shot's not going to be too happy about that one. Not quite sure. Jeez! And even that Corvette was so close to hitting that tyre barrier on the outside. I don't know what's happening. It's like we've reached the half-hour mark, and all of a sudden everyone's decided, right, it's the last 10 minutes of the track. No, it's not, guys. Relax. But you can't tell them that from the commentary booth. They are getting all kinds of excited. And I can't deny that I'm excited watching it as well, as it just keeps on getting better and better. And now Shelley was down pit road. I wonder if that's a scheduled stop, or if Shelley's had their own incident as well, because they were running very high. It looks like it might just be a normal scheduled pit stop for these HPDs. I'm not quite sure of the fuel load between the two cars. I apologize for that one. But yeah, we're just being told that it is about time for the HPDs to come in. So we're going to be seeing pit stops of that one. Thank you to Mike Taylor for that one, always being the man in my ear, making sure that I'm staying on the correct path and keeping us on track in the race and watching the action as well. As this battle between Homan, Daly, and Warner, not quite as spicy as we were getting ready for, but certainly it's not out of the realms of possibility, as Armstrong ahead is actually closing in on Hutchinson in the 7th position. Armstrong's closing very quickly. Not sure what's happened there, unless Hutchinson is going down pit road as well. Mike's not quite keeping up, but that's okay, as we don't want to out him on camera, but we already have. So sorry, Mike, as he tells me he's okay with it, so we're good with that one, as Hutchinson, yeah, caught really close up, and you could tell, I mean, well, we could tell as soon as we panned over the reason why, and jeez, oh, Armstrong got so close, he got really squeezed there. Oh my, and I believe that was O'Neill. No, that wasn't O'Neill. Was that Thomas? That might have been Daniel Thomas doing a bit of the squeezing there. I believe so. No, that's Go Lightly. Never mind. I should have recognized that paint scheme earlier on. But potentially getting it confused, because it looks like there's a rear of the tap. There's an incident right there. We saw it happen live And Go Lightly takes an immediate toe, doesn't even try to turn it around. Absolutely horrendous place on track to have your car stopped fully. And that was, yeah, tried to signal to Go Lightly that I believe that might have been O'Neill in the first position trying to come through. And it was Austin O'Neill. He was on the lead lap, so he was trying to come through the lap down car, trying to tell him to get out of the way. I believe there was enough room, potentially some netcode getting involved there. So I'm not quite sure if the two cars did actually touch or not. It was very, very close. But regardless, that's a very unfortunate event for Go Lightly, and he is going to be very upset about that one, as I don't believe O'Neill will have any kind of damage on that one. It looks like he doesn't. His car's got away with it without a problem. So potentially netcode really did play a factor, but the real winner of all that was Horvaton, who has really closed that gap within half a second right now. And these GT1s are really getting very, very close to that camera just outside the barrier there on the exit of Sunset, which is scaring me, if not you as well, watching the broadcast. And it looks like that's going to be the HPDs coming past. Has there been a change of the HPDs? I believe that has, because Warner's gone past Daly. That's who that is right there between the two leaders of the GT1 class. So, yeah, that's definitely happened while we've been looking around at other incidents and different places on track as well. And he's gone past very adamantly. I mean, he's much further ahead. So that obviously would have been a bit of a difference there, as Horvaton is starting to lose the back end of O'Neill now. So O'Neill, after that incident, is really on the recovery drive, and I'm sure he'll be pushing as much as possible to keep the distance. And you can see right there, I've said it before, I'll say it again, that HPD, it has the pace on these GT1s, make no mistake, but it just doesn't in these areas. You can see how slow it has to go through the corner, and it's just not able to get that top end speed enough to be able to pass, as Daly finally makes his way around Horvaton, but cost him almost half, if not maybe more than half a lap, and really dropped him down. So that's just potentially fuel saving as well, though, now that I think about it. If these HPDs are very close to their fuel window and he hasn't pit yet, that would not surprise me either if he's trying to use the draft of those machines in front to save some fuel. Remember, the wind resistance will really be chalking up a lot of fuel on those machines. And we're going to be watching drilling now on Hog, and he's catching up to the 13th position of Hog. And that's about as bright as yellow as you can get. Geez, I thought I was on a construction site for a second there. As, you know, you can get the yellow vest, and I'm trying to explain that one. But I don't know who I'm explaining it to, because I feel like people are probably bright enough to already know that one, and I'm trying to justify it myself. But never mind, as Hog's just in front. And trying to keep that distance at 4/10, but it looks like Dreeling is really reeling him in. And I've said really too much there, but that's okay, as Dreeling is getting closer and closer, a little bit further behind on the brakes on the entry, but able to get that run on exit. You can see that time coming down, 3.4, 3.3, 3.2, and it is coming down quick. Hog better watch out, as Dreeling is smelling the blood in the water, and he wants that position, 13th away from Hog, and Hog's going to have some lap traffic to contend with as well. So that's not going to help him, or maybe it will. Again, it's very dependent on where you catch these cars, and depending if he can get it before Le Mans, whether he'll be able to make it stick, and it's not looking like he's going to be able to, so that's going to really close the gap. Dreeling is right there. Jeez, I thought he was going to run right into the back bumper. Able to get it stopped in time, though, without flat spotting the tyres. And sticking to the back bumper of Hog. Homan, meanwhile, and Hampton very close together, just ahead of these two. There's a little bit of a flash of the lights. I wonder if that's just drilling, letting Hog know, hey-yo, I'm here, don't forget. So just letting Hog know not to take it too easy because there's a driver right there waiting in the wings. As they head into turn one. See, they've got more traffic just in front of them, and we're going to take a look at a different battle, it looks like, as well. As Hampton and Homan, I've mentioned this one just before, so Homan's trying to be on that recovery drive after those two spins, one half spin and one full spin that he had earlier on. He's definitely had the pace of a slightly higher position than he is right now, and it looks like Shelley's past Scrivener slightly down the order as well for that 16th position. But we're going to stay watching this one because this is heating up pretty quickly, as well as Hog and Drilling is as well. So it's really, who do we want to watch right now? I'm not too sure because there's too many things. As Drilling runs a little bit wide, so he's opened that gap between the two of them, but it's going to be closed down straight away as Hog finds himself again behind the lap traffic. And this is going to keep happening throughout the rest of the race as we're only 40 minutes into a 2-hour event. And we are, I mean, I was going to say we're getting ready for having more racing action, but we've already had plenty of racing action. And I guess we are going to have more because just look at the battles on track right now. I mean, it is phenomenal what we're seeing right here. And even in 40 minutes up on the racetrack timer, you can still see that we're getting very close and Dreeling surely going to make the move, decides against it. Quite surprised at that one. I would have thought maybe trying to send it 3 wide. Bit dangerous though. Looks like he's going to do it now. Goes to the inside line. Going to use the draft of the GT1 though. The GT1 just a little bit further ahead. Able to get it done using that draft. And pulls ahead and just covers off the inside line from Hog. So that is a very beautiful pass among very respectful traffic as well. That was great stuff between all of the drivers involved. And that is exactly what we want to see. And Hog's going to try and retain this at under a second. Definitely. He's under half a second still at the moment. But you want to retain that second gap as a minimum because that is essentially, I mean, obviously for every car is slightly different, but I would say that that's usually where the draft sort of help, cutoff, slipstream, whatever you want to say, that's where it really ends, is around that second mark. So if you can stay just within that bubble of 1 second to the car ahead, you'll typically get a slight assist on the straight lines. But again, if you're too close to someone heading into a corner, you can also experience aero wash. And basically that just means that you're not getting enough downforce, especially on these HPDs, the wind running over the front of the car. And if you've got another car just in front of you, it can hurt the downforce, which means that you don't have as much turn in for these machines, and they won't be able to stick to the road quite as well. As we jump down slightly in the order, because it looks like Shelley's made the move on D, and Roberto D. Philippus, sorry about that. It just says D on the timing board. We'll try and see if we can get that figured out next time we come out to race. But for the moment, D. Philippus, I mean, he's been pretty solid so far. Nothing too untoward with his driving style at the moment. Keeping it nice underneath him. No spins. No aggravating wear and tear on that machine. So potentially looking like a good contender for the end of this race, as these drivers, you know, they're going to have a lot of moments where they think, oh, maybe I can go for this dive, maybe I can't. And keeping a level head mindset is going to be much more of a key than people realize. I mean, you know, you take the physical aspect of driving for 2 hours, but a lot of people ignore the mental. And when you're driving for 2 hours straight, especially with not many brakes and with cars this fast, especially with the corner speeds these drivers are going at, you, the mental strain in multi-class is very, very high. And you've got to make sure you're aware of where the car is, what it's doing, and the other cars around you as well. And D. Philippus, as I was just alluding to, has been doing a fantastic job of that, just keeping his mind about where he is on track, where everyone else is, and keeping himself out of harm's way. As it looks like Batten's come down pit road from the lead of the race. So he's bringing that one down pit road, and Hallidufson now, he's going to be leading the field, but he wants to come down pit road as well, because if he doesn't come down pit road soon, now that Batten's on the exit, he's going to be losing way too much time. You want to really pit roughly when the leader does, unless you want to try something drastically different, which of course is an option available to these drivers. But if it was me personally, I'd save it for the next round of pit stops when you've only got about half an hour of racing to go. Because if you don't wait for that little bit, you try a strategy now, potentially you've lost any sort of draft, any sort of momentum that you had coming into the way you were driving the car. And it looks like Austin O'Neill is, speaking of, also coming down pit road. So these GT1s not too far behind the HPDs in terms of fuel mileage. And he's come down pit road. I believe that's for a scheduled stop as well. It did look like he had a little bit of rear damage, though. I don't know if I was the only one to notice that or not. But when we saw that camera angle just before, the front end looks clean. But oh, and of course there's a pole in the way of that camera angle. Could you believe that? No, his rear end, okay, actually looks all right. I'm not quite sure why I thought there was a bit of damage, but it looks like he's okay. And he's actually taking tires as well. So that's an interesting strategy call. Uh, I can almost guarantee he's not going to be taking tires on the next stop. But yeah, these drivers will almost certainly be taking a nice group of spares. And I didn't even think about that, saying that on stream, but or saying that on broadcast. I shouldn't say stream. I guess it is a stream of sorts. But yeah, it's something that these drivers are definitely going to have to contend with, because coming out on new tires, they're going to have no heat in them whatsoever. And unfortunately, it just means that the drivers are going to have to potter around the circuit slightly slower for the first couple of laps coming out of the pits before the tires come back up to temp. And we're looking at Hallidufson, and he chose, I believe, he chose to stay out an extra lap to what I recommended up here in the booth, which again potentially goes to show why I'm up here in the booth and not racing myself, because I'm not as professional as these drivers are. And I wonder if he's going to come down pit road this time by. It looks like he's not going too slow. No, he's going to stay out for the moment. So interesting strategy plays coming out here. I can't imagine that he has too much more fuel in that machine. And you can see the pit stops on the left-hand side just alongside the list of drivers. And it looks like there's a few different cars down pit lane as well. Hogg, De Filipe's come down pit road in the top class. Overton, Gunnison, Schmier in the GT1s have all come down. And there's a drive. That was a drive-through for O'Neill. Has he just acquired one, or did he have one earlier? Oh, that's an interesting development. So he acquired a drive-through from Race Control for that incident in the hairpin that we saw several laps ago, where he made that dive, if you recall, flashing the lights on Go Lightly and just making that little bit of contact. And Race Control's had a look and decided that that is not the way that the drivers should be passing. And let it be known that blue flags here, even though that car was in a blue flag position, it must be said that in these endurance races, blue flags do not mean what they mean in F1. They are not a necessity to just get out of the way. And you can have a look there. That is the incident right there that caused the black flag and the pit drive-through for O'Neill. And and that's the reason for the penalty. So as I was saying, the blue flags are just to let you know, hey, there's a faster driver behind. Don't fight them too much, basically. But it's not a F1 style, just get out of the way, I'm coming through. Because, in my opinion at least, endurance racing understands that everyone is entitled to racing room on the circuit, and you shouldn't have to just give up your entire racing experience just so someone who may be faster for whatever reason to go on by. But my personal feelings aside, we're going to keep on watching this one as Hallidufson still hasn't made the pit call, but there's Braun. He's come down pit road, and that is a beautiful camera shot right on the money for his pit stall. And we can really get to admire that one. And he's not taking tires. So that is interesting that we saw. Oh, fuel and tires are separate, we're just being told. See, this is why I need someone like Mike Taylor in the booth with me. He just gives me all the ideas. I'm just spouting nonsense up here in the booth. He's the one really keeping tabs on me and making sure I'm not just talking out of my bum. As it looks like Braun has just gone up on the Jackson. He's also taking tires, so they are getting it done separately, just as I was told. Hampton also come down pit road as well as Dreeling. Shelley's just passing pit road. I believe they had a fairly early stop. Shelley, as you can see, one stop there, so they've made their way through. Baton, as we know, had an earlier stop as well. They were the previous leader of this race. So we're just waiting for Hallidufson, Baker, Armstrong, and Warner to make their pit stops in the top class. As Striveneer's just come down, and Hallidufson still refuses to come down pit lane. This is fascinating to me. He must be running on fumes, or at least intending to, because you cannot be telling me that Hallidufson is thinking about making this a two-stop race. That would be absolutely incredible if he has somehow been able to save enough fuel to make it almost, if not a full hour. That would be just unheard of. I don't know how he would be able to do that, but I mean, I've seen this driver. I've sung his praises before. I've seen this driver do incredible things with different machines, and I know that he's capable of some crazy feats. So I wouldn't put it past him, but I don't know how it could be possible, as it looks like Hutchinson might have caught a black flag as well. I wonder if that was having a pit speeding violation on the entry or exit of pit road, because he only just came down pit road very recently. So I wonder if that's the reason for that one, as Hallidufson is now your only driver not to come down pit road. So I don't see how he could save it to the full hour. You need to save an extra, what would that be? An extra 7 minutes, which would be an extra 3.5, 4 laps, something like that. Probably, well, probably 4 laps. I don't see how that's possible. I just, Hutchinson had avoidable contact, so that's where his drive-throughs come from. Race controls determined that he had avoidable contact with the 26. I can't quite remember if we got that one on replay at the time it occurred. But I don't remember that one happening with my very short-term goldfish memory. But it looks like, I mean, that's the penalty he's been dealt, and there is no arguing with race control. And race control will only give you a penalty if they deem it definitely egregious enough. So, unfortunately, that has been bestowed upon him, but Hallidufson still stayed out. I mean, this is just I'm so confused up here in the booth. Everyone that I can tell has pit. Every single car, including all the GT1 field, have all pit. I don't understand how Hallidufson has enough. I mean, there might have to be a steward's inquiry at the end of this one, because does he have a spare fuel tank in there? I don't know. You've got to ask the question, because it is absolutely crazy that he's still somehow out on the on track. And still, he's not even going that much slower, I don't think, than the rest of the field. And that's, yep, Mike is looking for, he's doing a great job in the production booth, it must be said. He's trying to look for the avoidable contact that caused that penalty to be given to the HPD driver, but we're not quite sure if we can find it at the moment. So, Mike, if you can't find it, that's okay. I mean, maybe the viewers might not think it's too okay, but potentially this is the one. As we're coming down. Nope, this is back live. Okay. So, thank you, Mike. We appreciate the effort. Even if it wasn't able to be found, it's okay. We appreciate the effort, absolutely. And Halidufson is in. He is in, finally, come down pit road, and Batten is going to be very happy about that, because that is 5 minutes extra that he's going to have to save to be able to make it to the end of this race. Keep in mind, 2 hours is not the end of the race. It depends on where the leader is. So if the leader is Batten, if the leader is Halidufson, whoever it might be, Shelley, Braun, Jackson, whoever, if they come past the pit lane and they pass that check where the checkered flag would be, even if they only have a couple seconds left, they've got an entire another 2 minutes of racing to get through that final lap. So that is going to be near impossible to save that amount of fuel. So Batten is going to be very, very happy to see that. And we just saw a spin for Gary Thomas there. Unfortunate. Looks like he got on the brakes just a little bit too hard. And the ABS, or lack of ABS, kicking in. And there you can see the difference right there. Was that Batten that just went past? I believe it was. That is a tremendous pit exit for Halidufson. I don't know how he's managed to keep that close, saving that much fuel. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, they're both going to have to stop another time. I mean, if Halidufson doesn't have to stop another time, I mean, you can just call me Lucy somehow or whatever I was going to say there, because I don't understand how that would even be possible. But I don't know why I'd want people to call me Lucy anyway. Let's just ignore that I said any of that, as Halidufson is on the second position right now and closing the gap to Batten. But Batten's really trying to run away with it, as Hutchinson has potentially... No, that's Daly. Had an issue, potentially hitting the inside barrier there. I wonder if he's actually hit the barrier. The car looks okay. Doesn't look like there's any damage on that machine. So the 36 going through the Le Mans corners, and oh, too much curbing. Round she goes, able to chuck it straight on the brakes. Nice avoidance of the tire barrier. Looked very enticing for that machine, but Daly says, oh, hell nah. I ain't hitting that one. So he's kept that one off the wall beautifully, as Batten is now increasing his lead over Halidufson, which actually makes me think, is Halidufson, is he trying to save that 5 minutes? I can't help but wonder, because if he's dropping off the pace, he's not dropping off by much, it has to be said. We'll see on the timing board next time by, because remember that was his outlap, as he runs wide on the exit of turn 1. So that's not going to help his chances. But I wonder if we're going to have a look at the timing screen, and Batten's been running pretty consistent 149s, low 149s here. So if Halidufson, if he's running anywhere, I would say probably 152 or higher, because that's not the pace we would expect. I'm wondering if that's going to be him potentially trying to save that fuel, which would make this an incredible ending. I'm very much excited for it. I kind of hope he goes for it. I cannot lie. That will be super exciting, fascinating to watch if he can make that somehow work. 2 hours on a one-stop strategy. I'm here for it. I'm very, very here for it. But it looks like he's not dropping as quickly as we might have expected to, Batten, though. So maybe not. But again, we'll wait for the timing tower to tell us the difference, as they're not too far away from showing us what that board's going to be doing. And don't forget that because of the multi-class, he can actually save a little bit of fuel by traveling behind any car that's in front of him, whether that be a HPD or a GT1. He can use that to his advantage to save some fuel, as long as they don't hold him up too much in the process, it has to be said. So they're going to see as we go past the timing board. Oh, 150. So we're going to be jumping to O'Neill because he's trying to come back from that requested drive-through penalty that, well, I guess requested, I guess I should say enforced drive-through penalty from race control. So O'Neill trying to make up the time difference that he lost there because he was in the first position and he's been gaining on Gunnison ever so, well, I was going to say ever so slowly, but gaining a decent amount, 1.5 seconds almost every lap. That's an incredible pace run. He is on an absolute mission to get back to the front of this field. And just a quick word, because Haflidussen was not actually saving fuel as far as we could tell, because he did a 150.1. So I don't see how you could save fuel running that quick a lap time, but I'm sure he'll prove me wrong somehow, as these GT1s are going to have to be really careful with that HPD coming out of pit lane. That's probably as bad a place to come out of pit lane as you could possibly predict it. That is really unfortunate, but thankfully the drivers doing a fantastic job of not getting involved in an incident, staying away from any potential disaster, and doing a good job of it. Gunnison's not going to defend this one, or at least he's going to stay on the outside line. Surely they're still going to go too wide into the corner. Yes, they will, but Gunnison leaves it too wide. Doesn't want to get involved in any kind of incident. Happy to take that 4th spot away and lose out just a little bit to the car of to the Corvette of Gunnison there, who I believe is, and he is, your top running Corvette on the grid. So trying to represent the Americans, even though he's Swedish. And oh, that was a very, very close call just behind him there. I don't know exactly who that was. Was that, I'm trying to remember my names here. I'm trying to think. Yeah, was that Armstrong? Might have been someone just behind. No, it was Guest. It was Guest that was. No, what was it? Not Guest. Now I'm just. Yeah, no, I'm in all sorts. It wasn't Guest. It wasn't Morrison. It was actually the car behind them. Mike, there he is. Yeah, it was Armstrong. Oh, I'm a genius on the very odd occasion. It's really not a genius to just remember, but hey, I'll take it. As I give myself the weird compliment. As Armstrong is trying to have a battle with Warner just ahead, though, and we're going to pan away from that one because Jackson's had a problem. And Jackson in the top 5, still going to hang on to that 5th spot, it looks like, but we're not quite sure what's happening. He was all on his lonesome. And just a bit too much curb, and round she goes. Well, if we've learned anything from this race so far, it's these HPDs do not like the curbs. So try not to eat them too much. Is my recommendation, as Moden is very happy to see that one happen because he is gaining very quickly on Jackson, potentially getting himself into the top 5. And Daly has a massive incident. So he has got a meatball flag, is what we would call it in the iRacing world. And if you're wondering, hey, what's a meatball flag? That's literally a black flag with a orange dot in it. Basically means that car needs to be towed. It has way too much damage and it has to be repaired. We can't find exactly what's happened. I mean, even Mike up here in the booth with me is completely perplexed. And it happened in Sunset Bend. It had to have happened in Sunset Bend, Mike, because there he was just on the exit of T1 and he already had that meatball. So definitely it's happened somewhere there, or maybe along pit road. There he would have got a slowdown for sure, but that wouldn't have caused the meatball flag. The meatball flag's for damage. or incident points, which he may have also accumulated, but I can't imagine. Running way too wide. Yep, that's where it is. Way too wide on the on the entrance, sorry, to Sunset Corner, and just absolutely clobbered that outside wall. And all of a sudden, the tyres decided it wants to go for its own race. The tyres just departed the station, is honestly just wanting to go for its life. That is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen that on the iRacing service ever, where the car's just driving and the tyres gone, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this car anymore. Out I go. That is incredible scenes. And I, I don't even know what to say about that. Was just, oh, the action just is non-stop. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if I should say that about Mike or not, but he's just said that that makes up for him fast forwarding through the lap to find that incident, and I completely agree because I've never seen that either, and that was spectacular to witness as we look to the sixth position, fighting for fifth, because Moten is right on the back bumper of Jackson, and this race is an hour in, and I don't think I've had nothing to talk about this entire race because there's always been something to talk about, whether it be a close battle or a wheel departing from the car. I mean, it's just non-stop action here in the European version or server or split or whatever you want to call it of the Majors series. It has been fantastic to witness. And Moten is just lost out there. You can see the rear not quite well balanced on the exit of T1, and Jackson is able to pull almost a second gap back due to that. But we might have a battle for the lead coming up in GT1 because Thomas has caught right back to the back bumper of Horvaton. Horvaton, remember, he was battling with O'Neill for that first position for a while there as well. And speaking of O'Neill, it looks like he's trying to gain this gap, but he's got 18 seconds of track ahead of him before getting up to Thomas. So that is a huge mountain to climb, even within an hour to go. I'm not quite sure that will be possible, but we'll be keeping an eye on that one because if these two drivers start battling, if multi-class does its multi-class thing, you have, I mean, I say you have, we have no idea what that could end up entailing. These drivers could slow each other down, and O'Neill could be coming for redemption. I'm sure he can smell the trophy and he wants it. So, regardless of O'Neill, though, because he's still so far back, we are watching Thomas and Horvaton, and it looks like there's a driver in HBD trying to go through and able to make it stick without too much issue. And I believe that, yeah, that's made that without a problem. And I believe that was actually Baker who made that pass. Able to get through them relatively cleanly without too much issue. So that was nice to see without having an impact on this battle. But speaking of the battle, there they are side by side, the two Aston Martins. The DBR9 GT1s. Which one's the faster one? The green or the white? Or maybe it's the HPD who just decides to insert himself into this battle. But he's gone through. That was Warner there. As ooh, there was Horvaton actually had a bit of a blink, I believe, there, or at least on our side of things. And Thomas has made his way around the outside line. That was pretty phenomenal to see. I think it was around the outside line, but it was a great battle to see happen, take place. And Horvaton, I'm sure, is not going to take that one lying down because, yes, we still have about 50 minutes to go, but it's getting to the crux of it because we are in the last hour and they're so close together fighting for the lead. Why would you not? But it looks like Horvaton made a mistake. It looks like he got on the brakes too late, misjudged exactly where the apex was, just how much brake he needed, with Thomas right in front blocking his view. just wasn't quite sure. And then the slow car, I believe that's Armstrong, if I'm not mistaken. Armstrong did not make that a clear pass, and that's going to be slowing down as well for Horvaton. So he's not going to be too happy about that one, as he was expecting, I'm sure, Armstrong to go for the move and take it with authority, but Armstrong choosing to be cautious instead, which of course from his perspective is the right move, but Horvaton probably not too happy to see it go that way, unfortunately, because that has opened the door about a second for Thomas to get that gap, and that means there's going to be very little draft. Even though Horvaton did get a better exit, there's not going to be too much in the way of Slipstream helping him down into the run to Sunset. And through Sunset they go. You can see the bumps really getting to Thomas's machine. I actually think that Thomas was about to be unsettled there, but able to keep it together, because that rear end was bumping and stumbling all the way through Sunset. Thankfully able to keep it together, though, as we've got a closer battle, I was gonna say, but it looked like it was a closer battle between Shot and Partridge, and Shot has an interesting moment. I think Shot's got a incident back in the 30th position overall, 10th in class. I'm not sure exactly what's happened to him, but he's definitely something happened, as the Swede just went off the track. Yeah, I think just misjudged the corner in, and this is the other thing. I mean, we've said it once, we'll say it again, the mental fortitude. These drivers, they've been at it for an hour, over an hour and 10 minutes now, where they've been pretty much flat chat, non-stop fighting pace. And you're going to start seeing drivers make small mistakes like that, because there's only so much that you can pay attention before your brain just has some small little moments of not quite knowing exactly where you want it to be, even if you know in the back of your mind you want to do the same lap, the same braking zone, everything. You'll just have those small moments of not quite being sure where exactly you want, or where you can put your car, whether it be slight nuances really. But it looks like Money is coming up to the back of Gunnison, and Jacob Money, and Homan has had an issue. So he's got a straight up black flag as well as a tow to pits, I believe. So what's happened here? Oh, that's gonna do it. Oh, yep. And that's not great. Well, at least the safety truck is right there. Yeah, so that's a tyre, and unfortunately that was Homan eating it. So I'm sure he probably didn't like the taste of that rubber right there. But yeah, another case of the curb just getting these HPDs really, really loose. These Hondas just do not like the curbs, and it just seems to be getting them every single time. It's just really not what we want to see coming into this race, and unfortunately the days have been ruined for some of these drivers. But Money is catching back up to Gunnison once again. We go back to this battle, and Gunnison's not going to be too happy about this one, because for the longest time he was your leading Corvette on track. But that title is going to be challenged right now, as Money comes for the move to the inside, textbook move, dives on the brakes late. You can see Money got a lot harder on the brakes, sends it in deep, absolute confidence in that machine underneath him, and gets the move done. So Gunnison's going to have to relinquish that 4th place spot, but still safely in the top 5 positions with a big gap behind, and potentially maybe has something for Money in front, but is losing the gap. He's about 5/10 back now, losing it ever so slightly. And you wonder if it's a bit of tyre saving as well, because potentially cooking those tyres early on in the run will mean they heat up and they warm up too much, and they lose the grip later in the race. So potentially Money has been able to just coerce, treat his tyres a little bit nicer, and he's got a few more laps of optimal running before they start slowing down. That may be the difference. As you can see, I think this is for the first time since starting this race, we're an hour and 14 minutes in, that every single battle is more than a second apart from each other, as Gunnison just barely gets to prove me right on that one. And we've got pit stops again, so Batten was committing very early to his pit stop of the first kind, and he's gone in. This is quite an early stop for this one as well, so he'll be running pretty close to fumes by the time he comes down the next time by. So that's interesting. I wonder if Huffledusson is going to take advantage, because remember, he doesn't have to stop as much or for as long, and Batten's going to take tyres. Batten is taking tyres. So if you were Huffledusson, you wouldn't take tyres. If you think your tyres are good enough, he will only have a small amount of fuel put in that car and only a few laps to go by the time he needs to come back in. So from what I would say don't do tyres, but I can't remember, if I'm honest, whether he took tyres in the first stop or not. And if he didn't, he might have to. It'll be very, very close. And so yeah, all Huffledusson needs to do now is just do what he did in the first stint, really, is just do steady, consistent, fast-pacing laps. Just keep the car under him, keep on going through the motions, forget about the fact that Batten's already had his last pit, and just keep going, keep looking for that perfect line. And he could potentially be in a very, very good spot to win this thing, as he makes his way back to the start-finish straight. And there's Barney looking on, the flagman, always there, ready to go, just in case we need him. And Huffledusson into T1, running a bit wide once again. That's really wide on the exit of T1. So he's going to have to be careful about that one, because we've seen him do that a couple of times now. And, you know, we haven't talked about it, but there is an incident limit. There definitely is. There always is. And, you know, if you get too many incidents, which going off track, having an incident with another car, all those things, I mean, having an incident with a wall as well, all those things add up with your incident point tally. And while if I'm brutally honest, I'm not entirely sure what the points tally is. Maybe Mike will tell me in my ear if he can think about it as well. But they're going to have to be careful with, I mean, look at that. You can see right there. I mean, thank you, Mike. Perfect timing to bring up the incident count. You can see right there, Braun's only got one. Huffledusson, sorry, I keep butchering that one, but I'm trying to get better. But he is on 19 incidents, and if the limit, I'm certain the limit has to be pretty close, unless these. So yeah, no, Mike's right in that one. So I know you didn't hear that in the while you guys are listening to this, but Mike's just told me that the incident limit is 16x. So if we're going by this, he should have a drive-through by now. But the reason why Huffledusson doesn't have a drive-through, we reckon the incident count is not entirely accurate. Potentially it's taking incidents from when they were doing practice as well. It might be taking the entire session into account. And so we're not quite sure, but it doesn't look like he's had any kind of penalty against him, drive-through, no nothing. So I would believe that if the incident count is only 16 and it's showing 19, that is a false display. So Huffledusson, I don't know how many he's got left to work with, but it's definitely something that he will need to keep an eye on from inside that car, because if he gets too many and he has a drive-through, he's basically handing the win to Braun at that point, rather than having this nice competition that we are currently seeing. So it's definitely something he's going to have to keep an eye on. And it looks like Partridge had a bit of an off track once again, so he's really struggling in that 27th position in the GT1. But that Corvette, we've seen a couple times he's been struggling a little bit. I'm surprised that actually gripped up there, because if I'm honest, on the entrance just there, I thought the rear end was going to step out as we switched to Partridge, but he's kept it underneath him. Nicely done, has to be said. That's about as vivid a paint job as you can get as well. I mean, that is the brightest green I think I've ever seen a green be. That's even brighter than the green you get at traffic lights. That's how bright that is. That's yeah, that really means go. But yeah, we've settled down, as you can tell, because I'm waffling a bit. It looks like the splits between all the cars in terms of battles on track for position, everyone's kind of taken it in their stride. We are 40 minutes left to go in this one. And it seems as though drivers are settling into their own grooves. And Thomas, it looks like, has gained more of a position, excuse me, on Horverton, and has opened that gap up to almost 1.5 seconds. Over the course of several laps, it's taken him to get there, but he has managed it in the end. And O'Neill actually hasn't closed that gap as fast as we were expecting. That was a beautiful transition, Mike. Thank you for that. And so, yeah, O'Neill has not caught up quite as quickly, and Marnie had a bit of an incident. I saw that come up. Yeah, you can see that caution light just barely. I think he's just been a bit naughty and pushing those track limits. And yeah, run a bit wide outside of the track he goes, back onto it, and manages to keep it without too much of an issue though, so not going to hurt him too much. But it looks like De Felipe is in pit lane in the 16th position and in pit exit pretty quickly afterwards as well. So that's an interesting development, unless he was in pit lane for a little bit longer than I've announced, because I might have missed when he came down pit road. But we're keeping an eye on Money, and not only him, but every single development on track at the moment, as we look back up to the front of the field with Daniel Thomas. Now, Thomas hasn't been as shine through as O'Neill in this race, because O'Neill led that in almost the entire first hour. But we cannot be taking anything away from him, because Thomas, even though he was in third for quite a while, ever since that pit stop, he's really taken this pace to another level in front of Horverton here. I don't know where he's found it, but whatever he's found, that car looks like it's sticking like glue, and he is opening up the track as much as possible without going overboard. And that Aston Martin right now just seems to be clicking with his driving style perfectly. So he is looking like he is on a tear, and Horverton is dropping back ever so slightly to Thomas's just monstrous pace right now. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about it, to be honest with you, because Thomas is just keeping this nice and consistent. He's not pushing too hard, but he's pushing hard enough to make sure that Horverton stays behind as we jump on board. And you can get an idea of just how bumpy this track is. I mean, look at that. You could see just how bumpy it was just on the one corner. I mean, yeah, I mean, sure, Mike, we might be on gyro cam, as you say in my ear, but that, I mean, that, if anything else, that tells you even more about how bumpy the track is, because this cam's fixed in place. So we're seeing every time the car goes on a slight angle, whether it be left, right, leaning this way and that, that's exactly what the car's going through. The gyro cam is, as it said, gyro, so it's gyroscopically mounted so that it won't be moving around. And you can see that's the bumps I keep talking about in Sunset Corner, and that's about as wide as I would push it, Thomas. I wouldn't go much more than that. That looked very scary, as he's put in a 156.6. Sheesh, that is fast. Did I hear you right there, Taylor? Huffledusson has 7 incident points? 7 only. So our number of 19, I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's definitely wrong. So he's only got 7 out of 16. So he's got plenty to work with. So he doesn't have to worry about it too much, which is probably a good thing in his mind for sure. As we jump to Joshua Hampton, who's just coming out of pit lane after his making what I can only assume to be potentially his final stop. He might have made that one. Yeah, I would say that's been his final stop, as he's come out in 13th position, just behind Batten. So Batten's lapped him as well. Speaking of lapping, Batten is behind some lap traffic right now, the GT1s, and trying to make his way through without having any incidents, which is, of course, the absolute aim. Now, Batten only a second behind Moten right now, so Moten's going to have to be worried about this one. I bet he's going to be feeling some pressure, because he'll probably know that Batten has been in the lead of this race almost the whole way. But this is where it's going to hurt Batten, because he pits so early. If Moten decides it, he and Jackson and Braun, maybe, depending if Batten can catch up to them before they pit as well, they can fight Batten as hard as they want, and they are well within their rights to do so, because they're both fighting for position. Yes, Moten probably needs to pit to get to the end of the race, and Batten does not. However, that's still a position on track. So there's no reason for Moten to just go, oh, well, I'll just let him by then. That will not play a factor, as we've just been told that 5 GT1s put in their fastest lap. So, and it looks like there's quite a few different cars I've noticed, as Thomas just then in the GT1 says his fastest lap as well. I've noticed on the timing board, whenever it lights up in white, that's just the time of the car going past your average time. If it's in green, the time next to the name, that will be a personal best for the driver. And if we're lucky enough to see another purple number come up, that means that is the best in the class of the entirety of the race for that one particular lap, as Huffledusson actually has the fastest lap of the race right now in front of Batten. I believe, if I'm reading that right, it's a 148.8, so that is incredible speed, because we saw Batten take pole and leading the race for the most part with low 149s, which he's still currently running. Mind you, that is a 149.1, so that's about as low as you can get without dropping into the 148s. So that just goes to show how fast Huffledusson is going. And I wonder if the reason why is because he's decided he cannot afford to save that extra 5 minutes of fuel. I wonder if he's made the decision that now it's go time and he can't make it to the end. But we'll have to wait and see. As Braun just sets their fastest lap of the race. No, that was last lap. Never mind, the timing tower proving me wrong very quickly. But yeah, so Batten's actually not catching up at all to Moten here. Moten's actually going away. So this is an interesting development. I didn't expect to see this. Moten has found some pace, or Batten has lost the pace, one or the other. And look at that, there you go. Half a second faster was Moten that time by. Obviously, Moten has lower fuel in that machine, so he should be able to eke out just a little bit more pace in that machine if the drivers were driving absolutely identically. But of course, this is, while this is not the real world, this is real world racing, and in that regard, everyone drives the car different. Everyone has different skill levels and sets, and so you will drive the car differently, meaning you will use fuel in different ways and whatever else the case may be. But Moten seems like he's able to eke out every little bit so far, and Batten has not been able to close the gap, which is very, very fascinating. And that makes me wonder, on top of everything, whether that means that Haflidassen is going to be the winner of this race. Of course, that is way too early to call because we still have just over half an hour to go. But it's definitely looking like a positive for Haflidassen right now. So it's looking pretty good, and honestly, this is on board right now with Haflidassen, as we might even go silent for just about a lap and let you take in the sights and sounds of Sebring. Alright, and we are back. I hope you enjoyed listening to the sights and sounds of Sebring International Raceway. I know I did, especially when those Corvettes come around through past the camera, because that is always a great sound coming out of that machine. As it looks like Jackson's come down pit lane just now in the third position. So Moten's going to take that one, and Batten close behind as well, sorry. So they are very much battling with each other as well. And speaking of Moten, sorry, has just set his fastest lap of the race with 149.6. So, I mean, Hutchinson with 150. I mean, Guest with a 149. Like, all these drivers, you can see the greens are flashing up because they are all pushing very hard. They know there's less than half an hour to go in this one. And we're going to have a look at the battle between Motten and Batten. O'Neill is in pit lane as well, and so is Money there from third and fourth. They came into pit lane in the GT1s, and that's a camera angle that we haven't seen before. I hope Batten's not too not driving through the paddock area, because that would be weird. But no, he's still basically on track. And we're able to get our pictures back together. So that cameraman might be having a few words at the end of this one, but that's okay. He's still employed as far as we know for now, and we're going to keep him that way until the end of the race at the very least. Might have to have a few words with Barney after that one. As we all know, Barney's in charge, the flagman. He knows what he wants to do with the race, and he is in charge of all that becomes of it. So Moten and Batten into their race is finally going to happen, and it looks like Batten's going to take the inside because he's used the draft off of the GT1 behind. And what has happened there? Moten's had an issue. He has spun on the outside line, and that is going to be heartbreak for a potential podium right there. What happened here? So he ran out wide on the grass. Did he brake on the grass as well? No. Not quite, but his tires still had grass on them because he spent so long out there that he was still kicking up some dirt and mischief behind that machine. And it just looks like that those slicks were not too happy to be racing with little clumps of dirt on them, and round and round the merry-go-round goes. So unfortunately, Moten's gone for that bit of a spin, and that's cost him a top 3, but he is still in 4th position, fighting hard. Graham and Money in this battle that we're watching right now. And Money's come out of pits very recently, as he also has a car. They have a car behind them as well in the lead class. They're going to be taking their time. I wonder if that's not Batten, is it? Because it looks like Batten's car, but I don't think that is Batten. That was 3 wide for a minute there, but not for too long as the faster class car goes through. And Money is able to take that spot away from Graham. So he's able to keep that. And that was Daly. So that was not Batten as we thought it potentially was. I wasn't too sure. It didn't add up on my screen, but definitely a very similar looking paint scheme, if not the exact same paint scheme, potentially teammates between the two drivers. So that could be the mistake there up here in the booth, as Money has taken that spot away from Graham, and he's going to continue on ahead. And he wants to keep O'Neill in his sights as much as he can, even though they're 11 seconds behind. And here comes Partridge. So he's had a bit of an up and down day. He's been struggling with that Corvette all day today. And it looks like he came in with a meatball. I wonder if that's just for incident count, because that car looks perfectly okay. And Mike breaks the immersion by going backwards in time. That's yeah, no. He oh jeez, that was close with that HPD coming in behind. Oh, that was a bit fear factor right there. But yeah, it's said that he had a meatball, but I don't think he did. No, he didn't blow a tire, did he? I don't think I've ever seen that before. Apologies,
Hey,
everyone.
hey,
Mike's just
everybody! All
letting
right,
me know.
so that everybody can hear this. So when you don't change tires and you run your tire until it gets down to 0%, you'll actually get a meatball for having 0% on your tires, which quote unquote means it's a blown tire.
All right, well that was that was Mike Taylor bringing us some soothing sounds of his beautiful voice, letting us know some nice info there, which I'm surprised that he wouldn't have. Well, I guess I know you get a couple of warnings telling you that the tires are running out, but they obviously stop after a certain point. So yeah, he must have just run it down to absolute zero. That is fascinating. You don't see that very much at all. I mean, I can attest the fact that I've done it once when I forgot to pit when used to, I was going to say used to be good, but let's be honest, I never was. But when I used to run ovals, I used to run it a bit too far and it used to pop on the oval. But that's the first time I've ever seen anyone pop a tire on a road course, as the oval guys would say. But obviously, normal drivers would say just racing. Um, But yeah, so Mike's letting us know that he's done it as well. So obviously it's not that uncommon. It's just yeah, wow, I'm surprised to see it. So there we go. Yep, wise words from Mike there. No one else heard that, I'm probably sure, but he did say listen to your listen to the spotter when the spotter tells you you need some hardware, I think is the call nowadays. But you know, whether it's that or whether you need tires, whatever the call might be, probably a reason for being told that. Um, as Gunnison now has made his way down pit road. So the Swedes come down from the 3rd position, but he came in on a different strategy. We believe that Money is going to be making his way past, and O'Neill has already made his way past as well. as those two drivers were on a slightly different pit cycle. And O'Neill has actually dropped back. This is interesting because from what we could see, it looked like O'Neill had the pace potentially early on in this run to catch back up to Thomas and Horvaton. I mean, it would have been a mighty effort, but we believed it was possible. But it appears now that he's just not able to maintain the pace that he once had, and he's not quite able to get that car dialed in exactly how he wants it. Almost like he's transferred well, not all of his ability, because of course he's still lapping very quickly, but almost like he transferred a bit of his ability to his potential teammate, at least teammate in spirit, with the matching paint schemes of Thomas ahead, because Thomas has all of a sudden, gained a massive advantage as well. So this is very, very interesting. But I believe Horvaton, judging from what I can see with the difference in the gap, the 48 seconds between Thomas and Horvaton, I would believe that means that Horvaton has pit already, and Thomas, yeah, 2:32. So there you go. So that is indicative of Horvaton on his outlap. So he has definitely come down pit road, and Thomas has yet to do so, which is why that gap looks so large. Hutchinson's come down pit road, and Braun's come down pit road from the first position after taking it away from Haflidassen after he came into pit road from first, and he's currently holding on to first ahead of Batten, I believe, as well. So I wonder. Yeah, it is. So you can see there's the lap of when the drivers had last come down pit road, and the oldest is Baker and Warner, who came down at lap 28, and we're at lap 55, so they're going to have to pit pretty soon to be able to make that work. And I was actually wrong, because Graham had pit on lap 26 in the GT1 class, but he has just come down pit road as Partridge once again finds himself off the circuit, making his way, in fairness to him, very cleanly back on to the track, not getting in anyone's way. And yeah, oh my, that is a bouncy rig that he's in. The suspension is getting an absolute workout in that Corvette. I don't know what has happened there, but that's like trying to drive out on my driveway. With how bouncy that stuff gets. I live on a dirt road, in case anyone is even vaguely interested why I made that comment, because otherwise that would not make any sense, as I've just realized. But regardless, Partridge is really struggling. You can see that rear end is still bouncing, and I know this is a bouncy circuit, but that seems a slightly too excessive. I don't know if the setup he has on that machine is quite what he wants to see right now. I don't know whether he made an adjustment in the pit stops or if that's how it's always been, but it's certainly not going the way of what he wants to see, because he's been struggling with that car all day, and that might be the reason why. It's just the rear end seems to be very, very bouncy over this circuit, like even more so than some of the other machines that we've seen go through the same areas. As we see Money right now, and I would actually argue absolutely, because if we saw Money just then, he's in the exact same car. Let's not forget, they're both in the GT1. Oh my god, I was about to say Aston Martin. That's a mistake. They're in the Corvette and C6, and Money's was much less bouncy over the bounces in the in Sunset Corner. The rear suspension definitely not hopping as much, so I wonder if that was just the way it is. And there you go for a change in position. Money's taken from Schmier. Schmier has fallen down the order. Not fallen too much though, only into 5th position. Not sure if Schmier's had a chance to come down pit road yet though. I don't believe he has. But Money was able to take that one without too much trouble. Schmier ran wide there to give that spot away. So yeah, I just can't believe Partridge's car. I'm still a bit boggled by the fact that that machine was bouncing just so much. I mean, that rear, like, you just look at the rear end there. I this, yeah, it just got to be something wrong with it. I don't know if is this a fixed setup series, Mike? Ah, see, it's an open setup series. See, that might be the reason. I think whatever setup that Partridge has taken, that rear end of that car does not look right. And now I'm not surprised that because we've seen him go off track a few times and have a spin or two, and I'm not surprised the setup, whoever's made the setup for him, or if he's made his own, hasn't quite been able to dial it in to today's event, and that is about as bouncy as I've ever seen. Might as well be monster trucking over some vehicles here, because that is crazy, the amount of bounce that he has going on there. That is incredible, but we only have 15 minutes left to go in this one, and things are starting to heat up as we get to the end. And we do a quick cutaway. That was a little jarring on the eyes. No, sorry to say that, Mike, but that was unexpected as. But Baker came down pit road, so that's why we wanted to take a look at that one. But he's come down from pit road in P5, and he's taken a quick splash and dash. He actually, from P4, he lost the place to Shelley, but he's going to keep it ahead of Jackson. And there's a move from a faster class car on money. I believe that might be drilling, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken, though. It's sometimes hard to remember the exact paint schemes on some of these machines, but I'm thinking I'm doing an okay job for the most part so far. As actually, it looks like Baker, Warner, and Jackson are very, very close in the lead pack for 5th, 6th, and 7th. I mean, they're separated by about a second each, but it won't take much for them to close up on each other. And Huffler just set the fastest lap of the race. He just said it just then. So you can tell when I said this race is heating up, that's exactly what I meant. Again, Daly's just set his fastest lap. I mean, the sea of green. And you can see 148.3. That is absolutely flying. And Huffler has chosen the perfect strategy as well, because he is 20 seconds clear of Batten. So clearly running as far as he did in that first stint has given him the edge to be able to just run away with it. And that's certainly something that we're going to be talking about, I'm sure, later on as we approach the final few minutes of this one. But yeah, Baker, Jackson, Warner, they are all separated by just a second each, so it won't take much. If they catch up to a slower class car in the wrong fashion, they're going to close up pretty quickly. And speaking of, there is a Corvette just ahead of Baker in the distance, as Jackson just set his fastest lap of the race just then with a 149.4. So that's pretty freaking fast, and I probably shouldn't have said frickin', but it's not a swear word, so I'll take it. And Baker has been able to get around that slower lap car. Jackson has been stalled a little bit. Warner's going to be closing in because of that. But he might get slowed up by this machine. No, look at that. The Corvette backs out early, and Warner is able to get through unimpeded. So he is catching up to Jackson fairly quickly now, as Jackson had that, I wouldn't say issue, but definitely got stalled out a little bit by that GT1. And these drivers, but it looks like Jackson's able to build the gap back up again. So that's pretty intriguing. It didn't take very long actually for Jackson to build that one up a little bit more above Warner. So these drivers, you know, still on the way, and it looks like there's going to be a battle slightly further down the order with Guest and De Felipe. No, that's opened up a little bit. Oh, it's closing back up a bit now though, as Schmeier and Money are also having a battle. This battle's everywhere all of a sudden. Mike, sorry about that. As De Philippis is under fire from Guest. And Guest got a good run out of that corner. Look at the drafting power. 0.4, 0.3, 0.2. Jeez, he's coming in quick. Is he going to make the move straight into the sunset? It looks like he's going to go for it. Gets it done without a problem. De Philippis lets it happen, but no, did the switchback. De Philippis kept the position. Fantastic stuff from the two of them. As Guest is going to try once again onto the inside line. He's going to have to brake a little bit harder than he did last time to try and make sure that undercut doesn't happen once again. And it doesn't. So Guest is going to keep that position for now. That was great racing between the two drivers. Nice and clean and very competitive. That is what we like to see. Fantastic stuff. As Guest is going to run away with it. And it's looking pretty good right now. Just about 10 minutes to go in this one. Keep in mind we might have a little bit more than 2 hours in this race as a total. But this has been an absolute incredible race. Thank you so much for joining us as we've still got the last 10 minutes to go. As Horverton has a black flag from the second spot in GT1. What has happened there? Is that for incident count, Mike? What's going on? I mean, that looks like it is from incident count, and Mike's just come over and told me, yes, it is. So, Horverton has been flirting with it, obviously, for a little bit too long, and just made the mistake, and that's going to cost him. I'm not sure if that's going to cost him second position, but if O'Neill, I don't know if he knows that. If he knows that Horverton has a black flag ahead, he will be pushing to the absolute most of his ability. And how long is it to go through pit road? Pit road is not a very long pit road, keep in mind, and you can go decently quickly through it. As I said earlier in the show, 45 miles an hour is not a slow pace, not a fast pace, but it's not a slow pit road either, and it's not that long. So I wonder where he's going to come out. We're going to keep an eye on it. Remember, he doesn't have to pit this time by. He just has to pit within 3 laps of getting that penalty issued to him. So it's going to be interesting if he tries to do it straight away. I personally would, but everyone does it different. And it looks like he's going to stay out for the time being. I probably wouldn't have done that myself because he's got that lap car in front of him, which will potentially slow his pace. But to each their own, and we'll see how this one comes out, whether it haunts him or whether it was a good position. Oh, well, Mike's just told me that even race control doesn't know what it's for. So whatever the black flag is for, it's come up. Oh, he hasn't even reached the incident. Oh, sorry about that. He hasn't even reached the incident point threshold. We're getting told he's only on 12, and the threshold is 16. So that's interesting. He does. I was going to say he does have his rear bumper pressed in a little bit, but then it would be a meatball if it was a lot of damage. It wouldn't be just a straight up black flag. So I'm not too sure. I think we're all a little perplexed as to how he's gotten that one. So we're going to keep an eye on that because potentially it's also a glitch in the software, which for Horverton's sake is what we're hoping, so that he can continue driving without an issue. But we'll probably keep an eye on it as we'll jump to the battle between Baker and Jackson for 5th position, because I think that Baker actually took that position away from Jackson not too long ago. I believe Jackson was in the 5th position, but if not, Jackson is catching back up regardless, it seems, only by a little bit, but still able to do it. So we'll keep an eye on this one because we're getting down to the nitty gritty of the race. We've got 7 minutes to go. Lucky number 7. And we're going to see what happens. Jackson within half a second for just a moment. But look how strong Baker is in the corners. I mean, he's eked that out to 7/10 again. And then it looks like, see, open setups once again, remember. So this might be the difference right here that we're seeing. It looks like Jackson has a bit more, or a bit less, I should say, downforce in the machine. Seems like his car's a little bit quicker on the straights. Of course, draft might be helping with that as well. But it seems like Baker's able to get away when they go through the corners. So it's interesting at this track because I've never really known with Sebring, there's a fair bit of high speed, but there's also a fair bit of cornering, and not exactly just slow corners like you'd get at, say, Road America, where it's often just straight line, slow corner, straight line, slow corner, right-hander, left-hander, 90-degree. This track's quite varied in the sense that you'll get some slow corners like that, but then you'll get Sunset, which you can carry quite a bit of speed into, and some other corners as well. So it's a fascinating technical circuit, and I'm not sure if I'd prefer personally to have more downforce or less downforce on a track like this. It's kind of a hard one to judge, but I believe that's the difference between the two drivers and their two setups right now. As Jackson's caught lap traffic, this could be an interesting decider. He's going to get caught up really bad here. Oh, sorry, that's Baker, and Jackson's right on the back bumper. They're both going to go through right now. This is getting very, very close, very quickly. 0.1 of a second. Is he going to go for the move? No, he can't make it there. That would be a risky dive into the Le Mans, I want to say chicane, but it's not really a chicane. Then again, it's not a chicane either. So take that information as it came, because it came very badly. But Jackson at the moment is still trying to hunt for the top 5 position, which Baker currently resides in. So this is very, very interesting. And there's a look like it was a little bit loose from Jackson there. So just to give you a heads up there, apologies for going silent for a second. We're just been told that Horvaton's black flag, as we found it, it's going to be reviewed. It's believed that it might be incident related, but it's going to be reviewed post-race, and we'll get an idea of why that potentially happened. And I was going to say that was quite the send from Jackson there. I don't think that was ever going to stick, but in his to his credit, in his defense, whichever way you want to say it, he managed to pull it up before getting to the grass. So that's actually really well done from that perspective, because I didn't see that happening at all, and yet he proved me wrong. So able to get stopped, but not stopped in time to keep the position after sending it onto the inside of Baker. And yeah, so Horvaton's black flag is a bit of a mystery. They're going to review it post-race. I'm not sure, Mike, I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell me, but if it does go to post-race tech, what will potentially be the go there? Because there's a chance that O'Neill may have been able to overtake Horvaton if Horvaton had to have served that penalty. So that might be an interesting one for the stewards to discuss, if on the off chance that penalty should have remained on that machine.
Right, just so that you don't have to go back and try to explain it. If it is a drive-through penalty post-race, what they do is they find out how long it takes to get from pit entry to pit exit, and then what they do is they tack it on to the finishing time for that drive.
Gotcha.
So say like it was.
All right, so
say like it's 30 seconds. So 30 seconds would be added onto his time, and they will adjust the results in a couple days.
I gotcha. All right, so For all of our listeners out there and viewers, Mike's just informed me that yeah, the as expected, what I was kind of thinking would happen, um, in the event that the penalty definitely was deserved, they're going to figure out, they'll probably take an HPD post race or something through or take the time of when it happened during the race would probably be more accurate. And they're going to determine how long it takes the HPD to get down pit road from entrance to exit and then add it on post race to the time that Horvaton took at the end of the race. And then if O'Neill was close enough, say if it was a 20-second pit lane time, they're going to add on to Horvaton, and then Horvaton will be scored as third, and O'Neill will be bumped up into the second position. So that's as we kind of expected would be the result of that, but we'll have to see that one post-race, and that's going to be a big issue. Jackson somehow, some way, squeezed as we've got the white flag. Barney doing his job and giving his arm a workout. Hopefully his shoulder stays on during that one as we take a look at the leader, because we've got to stay true to it. Huffler-Dusson, you're going to have to take a bow, because this was an incredible performance from just doing absolute mega fuel saving to driving like a maniac at the end there on pace alone. Fantastic stuff. Gets it done. Takes the checkered flag. Beautiful. Just over 2 hours completed in this one. Fantastic stuff. And we move over to our leader currently in the GT1 class, and that is going to be Daniel Thomas, who's getting ready to take his own checkered flag, as the top three from the GT1 class are going to be still making their way around the circuit. But the lead of them so far and until the end is I was going to say, depending on what happens at sunset, but he gets around without problem, as I almost eat my words there. And Thomas gets that one done. That was a little bit too close to comfort, especially with a 20-second gap. That had my heart in my mouth, and I wasn't even behind the wheel. But Thomas gets that one done. So there you go. And Horvaton's going to bring it home in second, at least for the preliminary results. We'll have to see how it gets done post-race. And O'Neill gets that third position in class, potentially second place. We'll have to go to the steward's inquiry afterwards. But your race end is going to be your top five for your HPDs: Huffler-Dusson, Batten, Braun, Shelley, and Baker. Bringing it home, your top five. Warner in sixth, Jackson in seventh, Moten in eighth, Hutchinson in the ninth position, and Armstrong rounding out the top 10, with Hampton, Drilling, Hogg, Guest, Drivener, De Philippus, Daly and Morrison in the 18th position. And then your leader in the GT1 class was Daniel Thomas, with Horvaton in the second position, O'Neill in third, Money in fourth, Schmeier in the fifth position, Gunnison in sixth, Belval in seventh, Thomas in eighth, Graham in ninth, and Schott in the top 10 of, I believe they were separated perfectly by class. So that's the Sports Silver class that will be in those GT1 machines. I should have said that earlier, but we know for now, as after Schott it would be, we are getting told, Ray Partridge, as you can see there on the timing board on the left-hand side. And the remaining three machines, unfortunately, looks like they had early retirements. That being Homan in the HPD, Go Lightly, and Pussy in the GT1s. So I've just read off the race results, but we'll bring them up for you once again. And there you go. So as we just read them through, Huffledusson, Batten, Braun, Shelley, and Baker, your top 5 positions. And Huffledusson is going to do a little bit of a burnout and show us exactly what it's all about. Celebrating in absolute style, done in a fantastic way. And the top 5 as we wait potentially for the top 5 of the GT1 class if Mike has that one, but if not, that's okay. I can read that one off again without an issue, just to keep everything nice and uniform. Mike's just told me he's enjoying the burnout, and who can blame him? It's a good looking burnout, it has to be said. So that was your top 5, and I'll just run down the top 10. I might as well at least. Oh, there we go. No, never mind. We've switched it up. We're still figuring it out up here in the booth as Daniel Thomas takes home your top spot with GT1s, with Horverton in the 2nd position, O'Neill in 3rd, Money in 4th, and Schmeier in 5th. We're going to bring in some of these drivers. Who should we bring in first, Mike? What do you think? You wanna pull in the drivers based on what sort of position or what you're thinking? Alrighty, we're bringing up Horvitson in just a moment. And here he is. Horverton, how you feeling, buddy? That was a fantastic race. You were up at the top of the grid for a lot of the time, and give us your insight into what it was like driving a GT1 with multi-class coming up right behind you.
It was amazing. Honestly, I love GT1s. I should start doing more of them. But no, I think the speed difference between the HPDs and the GT1s is interesting. You know, they blitz you on the straights, but in the corners they like to wait and sometimes send it. But you know, it makes it more fun. I'd say it's definitely much more challenging this multi-class than it is the standard GT3 versus the hypercars. But you know, everybody behaved. Everybody was super nice. You know, everybody left space. Not a lot of mistakes were made. Not from me, not from the guys around me. So yeah, I mean, Daniel and Austin, after the first stop, they just put their feet down, feet, whatever. Um, and you know, I'm lucky. Austin got a penalty there before his first stop because I wouldn't be able to hold him off if he was any closer. So yeah, I'll take a P2. I did
I
submit a black flag clear. We'll see how that turns out, but I think it's fair that it was cleared, but you know, we'll see.
Yeah, so that was definitely a talking point, and one we're probably going to have to bring up if you don't mind us talking about it. But we saw that you got a black flag, and we weren't entirely sure why. It was a bit of a mystery up here in the booth. Um, do you have any idea or insight, without obviously, revealing too much? If you don't want to say too much, that's perfectly understandable. But if you know how that may have happened or whatever else is going on.
I mean, I know how it happened. I'm not gonna go into too much details or say too much because you know I'm after the race you don't really control what you speak. And the guy that was involved with me was super nice about it at the end. But no, I was behind a lapped car. I overtook him into turn one, and then on the brakes, you know, your usual braking zone, you know, in front of the two cones or three cones, the first line of cones. You know, I lifted, I squeezed on the brakes, and I didn't even like feel it in my wheel. He just tapped me on the rear. It gave a 4x to both of us. I don't know why it was even a 4x because I didn't even feel it. But he gave me a drive-through because I was only 3 away from one. So I asked for a clear, and at the end of the race, the driver was super nice about it. He said, thank you for the patience and sorry for that. I was like, it's fine. It's racing, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, I mean, that's much more insight than honestly we had up here in the booth. So we very much appreciate that. Yeah, and I did speak about it at some point in during the race. Netcode is such a big thing, and people forget that we're dealing with people with living in different areas. Then they've got to connect to a server. Then they've got to come back. Did you find that, like, I mean, there were a few drivers blinking as well. Did you find that it was sometimes difficult to navigate around traffic, or you had to leave a bit more room because of that sort of netcode issue?
I was lucky enough that I live in Europe, not close to Frankfurt, but close enough to where the server is. So I didn't have my internet issues. My teammate did, though. He quit on like the opening laps because of the blinking and the packet loss. So sad for that one. But there were some blinkers, but I was lucky enough that they were either like 2 seconds in front or 2 seconds back when I would see them. So really thankful for that.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly where you want them to be, just that little bit away from you, so they don't have to bother you at all. But thanks for joining us up here in the booth. Anyone you want to shout out, say thanks for teammates, sponsors, whatever. The floor's yours, man.
I mean, sponsors don't have any. I would like to shout out my teammate who's probably watching this after his sad DNF. Shout out to my girlfriend who's watching the stream. And that's it. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Curtis J. Matthews. He broadcasted this for me because I don't know how to set up a stream for myself. So he's been with me the entire race. So shout out to him too.
Ah, that's fantastic. We love to hear it. All right, it was great talking to you, and I'm sure we'll see you up here in the booth, not too far away, because you've got a lot of pace underneath you.
Thank you very much. We'll see. I'll definitely be here for Majors 24. Anything else, we'll see how the schedule allows it.
All right, sounds good. All right, that was your second place in GT1. That was Damien Horvaton. I hope I'm saying that right. Probably should have asked him while he was here, but I think I'm saying that right. Um, and we're going to see if we can get. Are we getting Austin O'Neill in third place? All right, we'll get a quick word with him. We don't want to take too long of people's time, but we'll get a quick word with him. Austin O'Neill, welcome to the booth. How are you going?
Not bad. Definitely a disappointing day, but still a decent day.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk about that. Um, you got that black flag that gave you a drive-through penalty. You probably don't want to talk about that, but I'm curious as to what your thoughts on without obviously causing too much drama, because no one wants to have all that kind of
Yeah,
craziness going on there.
yeah. I just watched it back, and obviously I think there was things that uh myself and the 43 car did that obviously didn't work out, and it was just a racing deal ultimately. But I guess what kind of hurts the most is it was on my side at least a pretty decent amount of net code. So yes, it was still kind of my fault that I got into him, but it was also slightly iRacing's fault. But I mean, it is what it is. I think it was just a miscommunication on where he wanted to go and where I wanted to go into the hairpin. But I mean, I still rebounded to a podium, which was nice, but definitely was kind of my race to lose there. I felt like for a little bit, but I was just glad that at least another Fusion car was able to pick up the win. But um, yeah, just a little rebound will ease the pain a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw how much pace you had. That first stint was, I mean, you were just gone basically. You just took off, and then unfortunately that penalty, and then it looked like we were talking in the booth. You might be able to come back and gain that time back up, but unfortunately just unable to do so, it seemed.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like when the track started to cool off and get rubbered in, it lost the extra pace that you could go find in it, and just kind of locked everybody down to where they were. And I was really kind of banking on a safety car. And when we got towards the end of it and it wasn't coming, I was a little upset 'cause I wanted to see like where I was gonna sit in traffic with pace, but um, yeah, I don't really know. I didn't expect the pace to kind of fall off like it did for everybody because we all kind of plateaued in the top three. Nobody really was making any runs on anybody, and yeah, throughout the testing for the past couple of weeks, it felt like you could make pace in that second hour, and for whatever reason, the weather must have changed for this, and it just didn't work. But still some good data to go into tonight's America's race.
All right, sounds good. Now, before we let you go, do you want to shout out anyone, thoughts, family, friends, teammates, whatever you'd like to do, sponsors? Floor's yours. Third place in GT1. Definitely nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't thank the Fusion Sim Sport team enough. I mean, if it wasn't for them as a whole, none of this would be possible. I think we had Daniel won GT1, and Garen and Ed were close on the podium with the HPD. But yeah, if it wasn't for them and all their hard work, it wouldn't be possible. So shout out to those three and everybody else that participated today. We all had a pretty decent day, I think, between both teams. But yeah, look forward to the next one and see if that can't go any better for us.
All right, sounds good. Well, we wish you luck, and hopefully it does go better. And we'll see you then.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that was Austin O'Neill, third place in the GT1s. We'll see if we can get your leader for the GT1s in here as well. Daniel Thomas, welcome to the booth. You must be feeling on cloud nine right now.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was a good race. Happy to get the win off the back of it. I think, obviously, there was a couple of incidents that went on that went in my way. I think Austin came in, put her on pole, and started to take control of the race, and obviously got caught up in something that was quite unfortunate. I didn't see what went on. But it would be nice to battle out with him. But yeah, I guess I struggled quite early on when it was hot. Had a good fight with Damien, and he put me under a lot of pressure and got by me. But yeah, I guess after Austin's penalty and the track got a bit cooler, it seemed to suit my setup and could get into a nice rhythm and build a nice gap, and that was all she wrote pretty much.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point you just said there. So this is an open setup race. You had a different setup to your teammate, is that right? So that's quite interesting to delve into.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what Austin was running, to be fair. I didn't get a chance to run too much, and I'm not that familiar with these cars given they're classics, but that's the fun of the event. I was quite lucky and found a setup in one of the discords from the prototype. It seemed good. It was quite similar to the baseline, but something I felt comfortable with. I think just the nature of these cars, like blipping and the downshift, was quite difficult to get used to. There was probably a handful of other setups I could have tried, but didn't really find them. I guess given they're almost retired cars now on the service, it's quite difficult to get a benchmark. But I think me and Austin were pretty close nonetheless.
Yeah. And I, that sounded really weird. But anyway, the one thing I was going to actually mention quickly was we mainly saw it from the Corvettes. Obviously, you were running in an Aston Martin, but um, we saw specifically the Corvettes bouncing a lot. Like the suspension, especially in the rear, was not seeming like it handled much of the track at all, let alone Sunset Corner was obviously really bad. How was it in the cockpit from a driver's perspective dealing with the famous bumps around here?
Yeah, it's very difficult, I guess. I've driven a lot of cars here, like mainly the prototypes, and they're really prone to bumps. But you get the same in these cars, which is quite interesting. I think a lot of it is just being really careful on the brakes and trying to get the weight shift to where you want it before you can commit to exits. I don't think we ran quite close to Corvettes, but at least from the Aston point anyway, it seemed okay to ride. And maybe when the tires got older, it seemed to ride it better. Or maybe it was the fuel. But But yeah, it's a real tough challenge, and you see it in every class, but maybe a bit exaggerated in these older ones.
Yeah, it seemed to be a little bit more exaggerated in these for sure. But either way, you've got the win. Fantastic stuff. Who would you like to shout out? Friends, family, teammates? The floor's yours. First place GT1 winner.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I guess just generally everyone at the majors for hosting and officiating. Can't speak of the league highly enough. I guess the Fusion team as well. I think we took about a third of the grid tonight, so it was great to see everyone in the liveries, and you guys for the broadcast as well.
All right, cheers. Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you up here again in short order.
Thank you very much, guys.
Alrighty, that was Daniel Thomas, man of not too many words, but just enough to let us know exactly what's going on. Next up, I believe we have Garen Batten, who was our second place in the HPD, the Honda HPD hypercar. And Garen, welcome to the booth. How'd that race go from your perspective?
Went round and round. So yeah, that's how you want them to go normally. Yeah, nothing to worry about, no incidents or anything. So yeah, it was quite good. I mean, I thought I was being Superman in the first stint because I know how fast Michael is, right? And when I was able to keep the lead and even extend it a little bit, I thought, oh, this is going really, really well. And then I was doing no fuel saving. I was burning up the rear tires, and then I started sliding. So I pitted a few laps early, and then just watched Michael do another lap and another lap and another lap. And then I suddenly realized, oh, he's been sitting behind me fuel saving, giggling at how hard I'm trying, whilst he totally had everything under control. So yeah, he was always going to win. And from that point on, I knew it. So anyway, yeah, the rest of the race, I just kind of cruised around, and I stopped early at the second stop to, hoping that there then might be a yellow between when I stopped and before Michael had a chance to stop. But that never happened. And so, yeah, just finished where I was.
Yeah, well, I mean, I couldn't have said it much better myself. But um, one thing I do want to say though is like it. I mean, you say he was just fuel saving behind you as half a dozen, but it honestly looked like you guys were going to have a really good battle to the finish. I don't know. Do you have any idea? I'm going to ask him as well. Do you have any idea? Because he seemed to save almost double what anyone else did. I mean, that
Yeah,
was
he's
crazy.
just that good, mate. It's just like he's got so much in his pocket and so much in reserve. Certainly at this round, anyway. So yeah, he was just having a play with us there, I think. Yeah, I mean, his fastest lap was nearly a second a lap faster than anybody else. He was doing it with saving fuel. I mean, he even said he didn't need to take tires at the last stop, but he chose to anyway, just so that could have a bit of fun. So yeah, well done to him. Yeah, he was just too good today. But yeah. Happy
Oh,
for
that's
how I drove anyway. It's good to get up and do a race at 4 o'clock in the morning and not make a mistake, because
I was gonna say that actually. I was gonna say that just briefly because I mentioned it before because obviously I'm up at the same sort of time, but um, just what's it like from your perspective? I'm assuming you don't stay up. I'm assuming you wake up and then you just get in the rig. I mean, that must feel not great if we're honest. If you're just gonna get straight into the rig after waking up, right? Does that
well,
impact you at all? Or
I do have to get up a fair bit before the race starts, because obviously I've got some admin duties to do as well, and drivers briefings to run, and those sorts of things, because I'm obviously doing all of that for majors as well. So yeah, I am normally fully awake by the time the actual race starts, having done all of those other things as well. But yeah, I mean, I ran the European Series all last season. That's why I'm only doing the odd race here or there this year, because it was just killing me to be up and you know, basically getting no sleep. And of course, we roll into Monday morning, so I'll be taking the kids to school here in an hour, and yeah, my work week has already started. But yeah, it's I wanted to come and do this race. I've got a lot of teammates and a lot of people that I'm very close with that run in this series, so it's good to come and have a bit of a run with all of the people that I enjoyed running against last year. And yeah, I'll be back once or twice through the year, but yeah, not every time, because it is a bit rough.
yeah, you can say that again, but I think you've done a phenomenal job, and obviously your pace matches your clear optimism as well. So that's great to see. Now, would you like to, I guess, shout out friends, family, sponsors, all that kind of stuff? The floor's yours for the next few minutes while you can
Well,
take in the
I don't.
fact that you got second.
I don't think I'll take a few minutes for you, but what I will plug is next weekend, Majors Endurance Championship will be back here at Sebring in the modern IMSA cars. We've got 166 teams registered. We're expecting over 200 for that across 4 splits. Yeah, if you're not already part of the MEC, get a team together, check out the Major Series website, and yeah, come and have some fun with us. It's only round 2. There is a drop round, so you can still even come along and compete for a championship if you're only starting in the second round. So yeah, if you're not part of it, check it out.
All right, sweet. We do love a plug up here in the booth, so that's great to hear. And Garen, it was awesome to talk to you, and we'll see you up here in the booth, I'm sure, many more
Thanks,
times
guys.
this
Appreciate it.
season. All right, that was Garen Batten bringing it home in the second place. Last but not least, our winner of the race, Huffler Dussin, bringing it home once again, just like when I was doing the TCR broadcast a few weeks ago. Welcome to the booth. How you going?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing fine. A win is not too bad to have on a Sunday night.
No, it certainly isn't. And we heard from Garen that you were apparently taking it easy and deliberately took tires even though you didn't have to on that last stop. Do you want to talk us through maybe you're taking it easy?
It sounds like I'm bullying Garen when you say it like that, but no, I, I was fuel saving the first stint with the chance of a caution, like safety car. Me and my spotter, we talked of just one stopping it and staying out in case of a safety car late in the race. But then that never happened, so I kind of said, let's just go full push. And obviously, when I went full push, I could go significantly faster. So I think I came out like 19 seconds or something ahead of Garen, and would have been more because obviously with the amount of fuel I have saved during the first stint, I could have basically taken 6 or 7 liters if I'd continued to do that throughout the race. So I decided to take tires instead and push for a fastest lap, which was way more fun.
Well, I actually got a couple quick questions for you. Um, Number one, how did you manage to save that much fuel and still maintain that pace? Because that was incredible fuel saving. I've never seen anyone save that much over the rest of the field. And number two is that burnout at the end was fantastic. How'd you do that?
Oh, thank you. I hoped it would look a bit better, but I think once the new iRacing patch comes out after season, and now it's gonna look even better. You just slam the brakes and slam the throttle and let the clutch go. In the end, there.
Make it look so easy. Make it sound so easy. That's just the way of doing things for you, isn't it?
No, but I mean, I've always, if you look at the fuel saving parts of the question, I've always kind of been the guy in the team to be able to fuel save that extra bit every lap and still keep the pace up. It's just about taking more speed into certain corners and clutching into the corners that makes you fuel save and still keep the pace. I think I turned down the engine mode to like 4 or 5 or 6, I think, and just clutch, roll a bit deep into the corner, brake a bit later, but still brake sufficiently enough for not overshoot the corner.
Well, you're certainly a master at doing that. So, before I let you go, who would you like to give a shout out to? Friends, family, sponsors. The floor's yours. P1. I mean, it's got to feel great, right?
It feels amazing. I wanna shout out to my teammate who obviously missed the race, Crispy. Kind of sad not racing with him. We always race together. But I had my good friend and teammate Jacko instead, who was spotting for me. So big shout out to Jacko for sitting with me and just helping me with what I needed. And obviously shout out to the entire team Alkintech for being an awesome team as usual.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Been absolute joy talking to you once again, and I'm sure we'll see you up here in the booth, probably many more times before the season's over.
Hopefully, I like rallycross, but won't have too much time to practice. So hopefully, see you next time as well.
All right. Sounds good. Take it easy.
Bye.
All right, that was Michael Halladufson in the top spot of the race. Before I let you go, thank you very much for watching, everyone who's tuned into the race. It's been thank you to the drivers for putting on a show, and it's been phenomenal. I've been very, very happy, and obviously to Mike as well, our producer. We can't say thanks enough to him as well. Thanks to the Major Series and everyone putting on a show. I've been Gareth McAllister, your commentator, along with Mike Taylor, your producer. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. The Major Series is back.